Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, may I have your attention, please? Are you ready to engage in a mind-blowing experience and hear talks about life, technology, entertainment, and business? The next episode of HIPTHER Talks starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi everyone, Zoltan here from HIPTHER Talks. We're back again. Today we're talking about payments in the gaming industry, which is a very fond subject of ours here at HIPTHER. So today I have here with me Zakary Cutler, the president of the global gaming division at Paysafe Group. Am I right, Zach?
Yep, that's correct.
All right, so it's nice to meet you. Let's just give a short introduction about you. So I will ask you to introduce yourself, say a few words about your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me today. My name is Zakary Cutler, president of Global Gaming here at Paysafe. I've been in the gaming industry since I was actually 19 years old. And oddly enough, I've been a client of Paysafe for more than a decade across 3 different companies. So early in my career, I launched online poker and casino sites in regulated jurisdictions outside of the United States, which was funny because we were actually based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but we didn't take any US bets, because we wanted to make sure we were fully compliant. And Paysafe powered just about all of our payments back then. From there, the group that started that company actually went on to be the first investors into DraftKings, which is now one of the leading brands in the world for sports betting. And I joined there pretty early stage as the head of product, where Paysafe also powered all of our payments or most of our payments. And then from there, actually joined, I think I was the 10th employee at a company that put Powerball and Mega Millions tickets on the internet on a mobile device here in the US in a regulated fashion. And Paysafe again powered our payments there. So my background has been across all verticals of regulated online gaming. And I've always been focused on the business side, on the payment side. And it's really cool now, many years later, to be on the other side of the fence on Paysafe powering those clients.
All right. So you know a lot about Paysafe. So basically, you can share a few words about Paysafe as well in terms of as a company.
Absolutely. So yeah, Paysafe's a publicly traded global payments company that focuses on a variety of specific verticals. Obviously, gaming is one, crypto is another, travel, video gaming, and a bunch of others. But what's unique about Paysafe over many in the space is the products that we offer actually span card acquiring, digital wallet, which is Skrill, and also a cash product as well. And what's super unique is that we play on both sides of the ecosystem. So we play on the consumer side, where we actually acquire our own users into our digital wallets and eCash product. But we also plug those products into the actual merchant base, similar to a PayPal, where the merchant actually gains value from the flywheel of our consumer base and also our product as well. So that's pretty much Paysafe in a nutshell. And again, known for great service, great products, and I can say that honestly as someone who was a customer for a long time.
Yeah, I know Skrill. I've been a client since it was Money Booker. So
yeah, that's right.
A long time ago.
That's right.
All right. So could you speak about some of the most important developments that happened in the payment sector?
Absolutely. So look, the space has moved very quickly in the last few years. You now have over 25 states since PASPA was repealed in 2018 that quickly moved to legalize online sports betting. And we still have more to come in 2023. But what that's done is it's actually taken a market that was once basically offshore with a ton of regulations that prohibited compliant payment companies like ours from doing business in the United States. So that was really a geography that was effectively blocked out. When all this happened, tons of change happened, both at the card network schemes with Visa, MasterCard, realizing that, oh, wow, this is in fact legal gaming activity, which then enabled the issuing banks to start accepting, it enabled the networks to create new MCC codes to say regulated gambling. And that enabled the issuing banks to say, oh, we can actually accept these instead of decline these transactions. So we had to make sure that our systems were set up to manage that and handle that. That was a huge change. From a digital wallets perspective, we noticed that there was a gap in the market servicing VIPs and sort of, players that like to play on multiple sites, or players that, they don't want to deal with a bank wire because bank wires are closed after 5 p.m. or closed on the weekends. So we see a lot of demand there. And we revamped our digital wallet Skrill and relaunched it in the US to actually account for that demand. So we've seen a lot of change. We've kept up with most of it, and there's more to come.
Yeah, the industry demands fast payout. So yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So have all the developments contributed to the development of the iGaming betting payments, because they are somehow very much connected?
Yeah, so on the iGaming side of the fence, do you mean specifically sports betting or casino, or do you just mean the whole industry in general?
The whole industry in general.
Yeah, so I would say that iGaming is unique in the way that I said, where some of the events, specifically on the sports betting side, are time-boxed events, right? So it's critical that you can get through KYC quickly, you get an account set up quickly, you can make that deposit without any friction, because, if it's NFL Sunday at 12 o'clock and you're running into problems, well, you're going to miss a whole slate of games that day. So our systems have to be battle tested at peak times, make sure they stay up, make sure that people can get in and out of the process quickly. And then, as you mentioned, iGaming also really screams for fast payouts. Every Tuesday, after the Monday game, players want their money, and the payment providers have to be able to deliver it in a timely fashion. It helps build trust, helps build excitement, because why would you play if you can't use your money?
Exactly.
So all those things combine to be, I would say, relatively unique to iGaming, probably applicable in a few other jurisdictions. And then the last thing is, we're seeing a move towards loyalty as well. How can payment providers, add loyalty schemes to help create more stickiness for the operator? So we're seeing a variety of things, but those are probably the big ones.
Right. So did you have any key areas of growth for Paysafe this year?
We do. So there's two things that our customers were sort of screaming for. One, of course, was understanding a solution for their high limit VIP players, which we have rolled out, and we're excited about the deals that we've signed for that product and the future rollouts ahead of us. That is a big one. And I think that is one that is really going to catch fire and start to grow fairly rapidly over 2023 and 2024. The other is, we noticed that our clients are extremely cognizant of their player experience. They spend a lot of money to acquire these players. And on the card acquiring side, which is still a big portion of the cashier, debit and credit card deposits, you see a move and an ask from our clients to have multiple options in the background. They want to be able to take our gateway. And again, what's great about our gateway is it's agnostic to the card acquirer, right? So they want us to be able to route them as needed to any card acquirer that they think is going to have better approvals, that they think is going to have better service, that they think, or maybe just the other one might have went down or there's an outage. They're very cognizant of that, especially because, like I said earlier, you have the peak times. So at 12:50, you have all this volume. There could be a slight issue with the card acquirer.
Yeah.
Our systems have to route that traffic, and they trust us to do that. So that's another big piece.
All right. So this is, it's connected directly to the user experience of the bettors. And do you think that there's still room for enhancing user experience for bettors or gamblers in casinos? And do you consider this is as a main asset for Paysafe, having this enhancement?
Sorry, can you re-ask the question?
Yeah, of course. So the user experience for bettors and for gamers is usually part of a whole journey. So do you think that enhancing this user experience is a main asset for your company?
Oh yeah, great question. Without a doubt, it's funny. People think of the gambling industry as the gambling industry, and it's this very unique thing. And there are absolutely unique attributes to the gambling industry. But the reality is most of these companies are effectively B2C e-commerce companies, where the most important thing is their CAC to LTV ratio. In other words, they're going out, they're spending a good amount of money on customer acquisition, and they're bringing them to an e-commerce funnel. Now, in our case, the e-commerce funnel has an additional set of hurdles because of all the regulation. Remember, in gaming, if gambling is legal in Massachusetts, but not legal in New Hampshire, you have to be geolocated in Massachusetts to place that wager. So that's obviously baked into the technology, and that has to work seamlessly. It can't think you're somewhere else and block you, and vice versa. So that's part of the experience. KYC is part of the experience. You have to be over a certain age. You have to make sure you're not on any prohibited lists. That's also part of the experience. A lot of this impacts payments too, because it's part and parcel to when the payment transaction happens. So we have our own KYC technology and our digital wallet, which we're constantly enhancing and optimizing to make sure that we're getting the highest amount of compliant traffic through. All of these things, to your question, they have to get optimized. They have to get improved. Conversion has to increase for the operators and the players to have the best experience. And then again, that's just on the way in. Then on the way out, it's the same thing, right? The operators and the payment vendors have to be in lockstep from a fraud perspective and an AML perspective to make sure that we're constantly reviewing our policies, improving our technology to ensure that a user isn't getting stuck in some loop of compliance where they can't get their money out because it's a false positive. There's an alert that fired, so yeah. That's probably the most important thing at this point is starting to treat this like a traditional e-commerce site where you just transact. You don't have to worry about all the regulatory pieces impacting your user experience.
And it has to be seamless for everyone. Yeah,
exactly.
So what you mentioned that there's a lot of transactions and traffic going on game days, and what steps can Paysafe take to adjust the payment journey for different levels of sports bettors on game day?
Yeah, that is a great question, and that's a question we asked ourselves on game day. Still to this day, you have certain cards that just aren't going to work because maybe it's a small issuing bank in a jurisdiction in the Midwest, and they just don't they haven't gotten around to approving that in their bank charter or whatever it is. So the big thing in the cashier is some form of smart messaging that tells the user, hey, this card didn't work, but something will. And these are the options. So whether it's eCash, whether it's because eCash should always work because it's that you don't have to deal with the network MCC codes. A digital wallet obviously is going to be a great option where it's more of an ACH driven load. So you have more of a KYC user who just is using their bank directly. The other thing is, again, so they have to know what their options are in the case of a failure, because failures are always going to happen. It's still a decent percentage where it does happen compared to traditional e-commerce. And users are just confused by that because that doesn't happen when you go on Amazon or when you go on a mainstream site. The other thing is, aside from just the speed to deposit and all the options associated with a failure, comes with what we talked about earlier. If you're a higher limit player, you really need to be set up properly if you're going to wager more. So you're not going to be able to do that with a lot of traditional payment types because it requires enhanced KYC, enhanced fraud, and other controls, which Skrill has. So that's another way that, different levels of people in the journey, the more experienced, more serious players, they probably want to go to a digital wallet because the money's there. They don't have to deal with bank wires, banks being closed on Saturday, and they can move that money across multiple sites if they need to.
At an instant, and also in cryptocurrencies if they have to.
Actually, you just said something I forgot to say, the word instant. The other thing, which is unique about the way we do ACH transactions inside of Skrill, is that it's actually instant funding. So traditionally, you do an ACH, it takes 48 hours for the money to move. In our case, our risk rules are so advanced and our underwriting is advanced that we're able to actually, with the right customers, we're able to make sure that money settles instantly. And obviously that's critical. If it's Sunday, you can't wait till, if it's Sunday, you can't wait till Tuesday to make a bet. You'd win every time. So, I think instant and speed is actually a great point that I had left out.
All right. So that's good to point out. So yeah, we mentioned that the 27 states in the US have already started legalizing online sports betting, but in the US, not all states have legalized for those who have, could you tell us some of the boundaries different states may have when it comes to implementing your payment technology?
Yeah, it really comes down to the regulatory framework in each state. So it's really interesting. Some states have retail only, so there's no digital presence. Other states will allow digital, but you have to physically be on a casino property. So there's that requires sort of different, compliance protocols. And then you also have states that just have full-fledged, licensed digital gaming, where as long as you're physically located in the state and as long as you are of a certain age and pass the other KYC checks, you can, from the comfort of your own home, your couch, you can go through that process and you can use any of our products to deposit funds and start wagering. So every state is a little bit different. Some states might have a different email requirement when you make a deposit, or a different withdrawal email requirement that you need to send to a user. Some states have different dormant, sorry, I'm recovering from a cold. Some states have different requirements on dormant accounts, how long an account can be dormant before you need to refund the money. There's so many nuances from state to state. And look, we get it. It's done to protect the consumer, which frankly is a great thing, because from where we were to where we are now, that's what actually allows this to be legal in the US. So it's friction and it's added work, but it's okay. It's not insurmountable.
Yeah. And to our listeners, Zach is recovering from a cold. I am in process of a cold. So
oh no.
Here we are doing this for you. So you better appreciate it. So what have been some of the key trends in the industry that will play even more significant roles in 2023?
So in 2023, I think, we're going to see more states regulate. Ohio and Massachusetts should hopefully come on board. What we're seeing, it's interesting. In the early days, DraftKings and FanDuel came in and they took all the air out of the room in terms of market share from day one. I mean, obviously, a lot of that was driven by two things. One, they had a national presence spanning back to when they started those DFS sites. So they had a built-in database, which was very smart on their part, where they spent a good amount of money building that up in advance of PASPA getting repealed. They also did a great job building true technology shops. If you go inside their offices, they're set up like Silicon Valley tech startups. It's engineering heavy, it's design heavy, it's analytics and data. centric, and those, that is how you get ahead in this industry. As we said earlier, it's B2C commerce. Then you saw the second wave of entrants. A lot of those were your Caesars, your MGMs, and they had to play catch up a bit, right? Because they were land-based shops. They were extremely talented at running casinos on the Strip and other regions of the US and abroad. But they had to catch up a bit on the technology side to your DraftKings and FanDuels. Here we are. It's almost been 4 or 5 years later, and it's been interesting. The trends that I'm seeing are, I think those your Caesars, your MGMs are starting to gain a lot of market share. I think they've ramped up very quickly in terms of their technical knowledge, whether it be through joint venture, acquisition, or internal hires. And the one thing that they also have in their favor that I think they're just starting to really pull the levers on is that loyalty component that I talked about. So when you get in a more mature market, you really want to get stickiness. You want retention within your user base. And those guys have fantastic assets to pull when it comes to that, whether it's offering a stay at their hotel, a VIP experience at one of their land-based assets, loyalty that can be earned online that can be used at a land-based casino. Statistics have shown that basically players who are a member of a loyalty program at a casino that play online, it doesn't cannibalize the land-based casino play. They actually have increased visitation and increased coin in at the slots or whatever game they like to play, because frankly, they're just more engaged. They're engaged offline at their house with your brand when they otherwise wouldn't be. So it's not necessarily a zero-sum game when it comes to the wallet share there. So the trends I'm seeing, to tie it all back to your question, are, you're just seeing, loyalty starting to increase in terms of leveraging the assets that you possess to get those online gamblers loyal to your brand and engaged when they're, either at your property or when they're not at your property. That's a big one. And then, of course, the other one I've talked a lot about, which is just, the segment of VIPs that need to be served. And then the other piece is payouts. We're seeing a lot of innovation around payouts. There are integrations that we've done with, instant push to card payouts, whether it's an OCT or something similar. We're seeing other cool startups popping up in the payout space that are incentivizing payouts in a really cool way, which, I think should be watched very closely. And then, I think that's about it.
All right. You mentioned the retention, and this is something that we often talk about at our conferences, at our virtual, at in-person conferences, about how in the US there's a gold rush right now to getting new players with lots of deposit bonuses, but nobody is actually thinking about retention. But this is a great point you mentioned, that land-based casinos that have an online presence can really leverage on that asset. So this is very interesting. So what are your expectations for 2023 as a closing question?
So I always go back to, this is a statistic that I kind of pulled myself because I was curious. A lot of people don't realize that online casino in New Jersey, I think, launched back in 2012 legally. And I went and looked at the total revenue that was made back in 2012. And I think the last time I checked, the audited number was from the state was in, I think it was 2021. And if you look, that number, I think more than 10x'd. So, what I think a lot of people have to understand is in the last few years, a ton of states went online. But what you see in year 1 or year 2 is not necessarily what you see in year 9 or 10.
Yep.
In other words, it takes a while for each state's adoption to start to level up. Players have to gain trust, awareness. They have to really understand that, I can do this. The payment methods have to catch up, especially and it's happened a lot over the last 2 years, but there's still a lot of debit and credit cards that should be able to have utilization that may not be able to. And, that will continue to increase. The networks are actually doing a great job with the issuing banks of educating them and making sure that there's more adoption there. But yeah, I think, if you look at all these states and you look at what might be decent performance, I think you're just going to continue to see those states grow and grow and grow. I think Massachusetts and Ohio are going to be fantastic states that come online in 2023. And I also think that you're going to see a push towards other types of gaming. I think a lot of people also don't realize that casino is only in a number of states. Sports betting is where you can play in most states. And casino is a product that's in extremely high demand, and it's not time-based. You can play, games and sessions, whenever you want.
Yeah.
So I think that we're going to see a push towards regulation of the casino genre a bit more. And I think, the leagues and the sports leagues continue to get more comfortable. So I think you'll see more engagement and potentially creativity and involvement from the various leagues. But overall, it's just going to grow. I think it's going to grow a little bit bigger than most people think it will. It's a high double-digit growth industry, and it will continue to be, in my opinion, for a while. You need California, Florida, Texas, a number of big states that still need to come online. So I just see growth and opportunity.
All right. So what a great time to be alive.
Yep. That's right.
All right. So thank you so much, Zach, for this great inputs on the payments and the gaming sector. So thank you everyone for joining in. This has been Zach Cutler from Paysafe. Zach, if you'd like to say some parting words.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me. These are awesome questions. I think that, we're super excited about the industry. We're super excited about the products we offer. We're here to support our clients and consumers, and always happy to come back and answer any questions that you have.
All right. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining. Take good care.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining. Be sure to check back next week for the next HIPTHER Talks, and subscribe on Amazon Music, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Pandora.